Here we're going to take a further look at hatching. So in the first tutorial we saw how to create a simple rectangle of hatching, and this was our rectangle there. We added extra points into the boundary and also added an island to it. Here I'm just going to delete that, so with it selected I can just hit the delete key and the hatching will go. We have the associative hatch. Here I can pick my border, so if I was tracing around something, option end, that will give me my hatching, and again we can add islands into it. If we pick the tool and we'll just click around maybe our border here, option end, that will give me my hatching. Now that's fairly straightforward, great if you just have small areas, but what can be very nice is to be able to hatch those automatically. So I'm just going to select those and hit delete once again. Let's take a look at inside. Now inside does exactly what it says. It hatches inside an area. So if I pick inside here, it will hatch it. If I pick inside there, you see we haven't got much in the way of hatching there because the lines are very close together, and it will hatch the individual areas. Okay, and if I pick that, you'll see that it's a hatch object that I can move around as well. So let's take another look at this. I'm just going to remove these two bits of hatching there. We can see the boundaries of the hatch indicated by the grip points, and consider that we want to hatch this time the whole thing. So yes, we can do it by indicating in all three areas. We could also use the rectangle command and pick diagonally opposite corners, or maybe the associative tool and literally click around point by point. But there is another option. If we choose inside and then indicate not inside the object but above it, what we find is that Caddie will actually hatch the entirety of the object for us. So how does this work? Well, if we consider what's actually going on, when we indicate our point to trace, so if we pick a point in here, Caddie will then look vertically down and then attempt to track around inside on the smallest defined boundary until it reaches back to the initial starting point, at which point it will close the trace and insert the hatch. Now if we pick above, what happens is Caddie will again try to trace around, but it can't go clockwise this time, so it's effectively going down here. Again it will try to go around, and we end up tracing effectively the outside of the object, which will leave us with a hatch for the whole of the object, so it will hatch all areas inside of that. So here we have a more complicated shape, and what I've done is create the lines individually so that they're just lines rather than polylines. So you can see we don't have to have polylines to do anything particularly special with the hatching here. We can just use the commands that we have. Going to use the inside tool once again, and if I pick individual areas, so if I pick inside of there, you'll see it will trace around, including the arcs and the lines, so we don't have to do it manually. Incidentally, we do have polyarc and polytrack commands, but I'm not going to deal with those there. If you are doing manual traces, they're useful for picking around arcs. But as we've seen here, we can trace automatically inside particular areas. Going to delete that, and just using the delete key once again after selecting it, then go to the inside trace once more, and then just point above the shape. Not out here, because if I point out here it won't find anything. So that if I point here, you see nothing happens. However, if I point here, it traces around and goes around the whole shape, filling in the area inside.